ago, I got the coolest job in the world. I spent most of my life with engines, but they said, hey, we have an opportunity to go work with the calibration, the drivability and emissions team on the Corvette. We have an opening, we'd like you to lead that team. So for the last 8 months, I've had my dream job. We have our fleet of Corvettes. I have an awesome team, about 18 calibrators that are making sure we meet emission standards, drivability, and working between the engine and trans group. So I'm specifically the engine group. So thank you, it's awesome to be here on such an exciting product and project. Okay, so what are we going to talk about today? This thing's right in my face. I'm going to review a little bit of what Bill Nichols did last year to kind of refresh and remind you. Oh, it seems so loud to me. Okay, is that better?
Yes.
Wow, it's really loud. Okay. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what Bill Nichols talked about last year with the new Gen 5 engine, just kind of remind you of a few things, and Tad's already did that as well. Then we're going to go over the 2015 model year content. And that's going to include a little bit about the 6.2-liter supercharged LT4 for the Z06. That's the majority of the presentation of my part. A little bit about the 8-speed transmission. You saw a couple slides flash up there. We have the same slides and a couple more. And then Rob, as he said, is going to go through the Performance Build Center update that's now moved here. So, a little bit about the new Gen 5 small block. Remember the features that we put out last year in the LT1, the direct injection that Taj talked about, that really helped with the racing as well. The active fuel management, so sometimes when you're in eco mode, you're going on just 4 cylinders versus 8. And it's a challenge to not let you feel that, but get you the best fuel economy. And then also variable valve timing, so we get the best torque at the right time, all the time for you. And then Bill talked a little about the analysis hours. He said there were 10 million analysis hours, CPU time spent in developing that engine. And then that leads over to this engine as well, because like they say, we keep bringing things from racing or from performance, back and putting it into the car. So some of that was designed, the base engine components were designed for both applications at the same time. With special changes we'll talk about. Then the testing, we spent a lot of hours in dynamometer, and that was actually my last job working in the Pontiac Powertrain dynos with engine testing, development, and validation. And then also we talked a little about the tilt rig, about how we simulate an engine on a tilt stand to simulate the G's of the car when it's performing to make sure the lube and vent system is good. And then we talked last year about the introduction of the 7-speed manual transmission and the active rev matching that Taj already commented. It's awesome, but we've even improved it a little more. You do those quick shifts, and we kind of anticipate the gear you're going into, and we get the RPMs right where you want them when you turn on the rev matching. So that was introduced last year. And then Luke Sewell came in from the Vehicle Performance Group and talked about all the hours spent on the track, and that's just continued, and we are still continuing that on the LT4 Z06 right now. That was my quick refresher. How many of you were here last year? Okay, did I do it justice? Probably not, but just to remind you. Okay, so what is this 2015 LT4 engine? We're continuing the Gen 5 small block architecture, like I said. It's everything in the LT1, same 6.2-liter but more. It's all aluminum, the blocks and heads. We have the direct injection we talked about, the active fuel management, because it's really important we get you the best fuel economy as possible also in some cases. Some discerning purchasers want the fuel economy, some want the performance, some want both. This is both. And then the continuously variable valve timing. But it's supercharged. So let's just talk a little bit about the supercharger, right? That's probably what you're dying to know about. It's more efficient. We have a new, we call it the 1740, so it's 1.7 liters of displacement in there, or volume. With the supercharger, it has the same 4-lobe design. It has the same 160-degree helix rotor design that was in the previous supercharger, but it's much more compact. It's lighter. It's actually 20 pounds lighter than the LS9 supercharger. That's pretty crazy. And they really worked on, the DREs, the design release engineers that worked on this in the system, they really worked on improving packaging efficiency. The rotor diameters are much smaller. Both the diameter and the length is smaller. And the packaging envelope on average is 75 millimeters lower. That's 3 inches smaller. So that's quite dense package. And it really enables the low hood design. And that way you can do anything, you have more freedom in the styling, right, when you have a smaller package. So just a graphic of that. So here's a visual of the LS9, and it's just a quick, easy cut in math data, right? So the yellow, green, and blue colors are the LS9 supercharger package, and then the LT4 is in the red and gray. And what you can see is there's those arrows, you can't really see the numbers, but it's about 80, in some cases it's 85 millimeters smaller. So, and we keep saying the only number I'm going to give you today, at least 625 horsepower. You're not going to get anything better out of me today, so we'll just tell you that right now. But that's a lot of performance. So, what does the all-new supercharged 6.2-liter LT4 have? It has the next generation compact supercharger. I talked about smaller and shorter rotors that spin up faster for instantaneous boost. So this supercharger will go about 20,000 RPM instead of the 15,000 in the past. So it's really spinning. It has like a 3-to-1 pulley ratio instead of a little 2. I don't remember what it was, 2.3 or 2.5 ratio before. So we also spend a lot of time on the intercooler system, so we can reduce heat and increase airflow into the engine. So with a smaller package, but we can still keep it cool. That's the same number. So we're still going through the SAE power certification, planning for the witness to come in and test it. So I don't have the official numbers. So it'll be at least 625 horsepower and 635 foot-pounds of torque. And we can do all that only 1 inch taller than the engine that's in the 2014 C7, the LT1 engine. So that's pretty exciting. Very aggressive. Surprisingly efficient. So the kind of marketing paragraph on that. So the LT4 combined with the multi-speed transmissions, we've got 2 transmissions, so we'll talk about them a little bit more. Corvette's lightweight aerodynamic design is expected to be one of the most fuel-efficient supercars on the market. Not typically what we think about, but that's one of our program imperatives we're working to achieve. So, some more details. So it's a 90-degree V8. It's got the same 103 1/4 bore, so basically 4-inch bore and 92 stroke. It's a really high compression ratio for a charged engine, right? 10-to-1 compression ratio. So we've got the forced induction engine, we already talked about that for performance and efficiency. Really wanted to have the difference in horsepower, right, between the different models. So that was very important to the team. I already talked about the supercharger. So it's got 2 bricks, and 2 brick supercharger on the side to do the cooling, and it's water to air. So we have cooling going through to cool down the air that goes into the supercharger into the engine. Low profile, high flow. A little bit about the cylinder heads. We changed the cylinder heads. They're rotocast, so for extra strength in the aluminum. That's the way we manufacture them. We got a little larger combustion chamber on the LT4 versus the LT1. Higher flow exhaust ports, right? The engine's only as good as it breathes in a lot of cases, right? You gotta get the air in, you gotta get the air out. So the cylinder head team really worked on the higher flow exhaust ports to make sure we could evacuate that chamber as fast as possible. And then we changed the intake valves. We have titanium intake valves. They get the high RPM we're looking for in this engine. So we have different heads with different valves in there as well. What else? We already talked about the direct injection, but on the LT4 we changed to a higher flow fuel pump, and we have different injectors, higher flow injectors. Right? You really got to get the fuel into the cylinder as fast as you can, so we had to flow more fuel. So that's a different fuel system. We kept the same dual equal cam phasing. The design of how we do the cam phasing is still the same, but we did change the cam a little bit, which I'll show you. We still have the same active fuel management. It works in different areas as the LT1, because we tailor that, the team tailors those transitions as much as possible. But we have the feature and we use it in different areas. We have forged pistons. We really needed them for the 10-to-1 compression ratio. And then we have the physical vapor deposition rings when they put the chrome nitride on the rings, and that's the way they put it on the rings. You guys probably already know that, but we have special high-quality rings. Lightweight machine connecting rods, right? We kind of went the NASCAR way, a lot of machining on the rod to get them as light as possible and still perform. And then I should have moved this up with the dual equal cam phasing, but we have a longer duration exhaust, right? So the valve can be open longer. And then we also, like I said, changed how the exhaust ports flow to really make that as efficient as possible, get everything out as quick as possible. And then we have cast stainless steel exhaust headers that are different. Higher capacity oil cooler, we gotta keep this thing cool with this power going around the track right in the Z06. And where the Stingray has combinations of the wet sump and the dry sump, all of these Z06s will have the dry sump standard. It's just the standard package for the engine and the vehicle. So, I don't have your final SAE power numbers. We're finishing up the development and validation of the engine right now. We do that in Pontiac and Powertrain in our new engine development facility. It's been open a few years now, but it's really state-of-the-art. It's a fun place to work. So we have over 625 horsepower. That shouldn't be a problem. And estimated 635 pound-feet of torque. And really the low-end torque, when the SAE certification comes out, the low-end torque's really nice on this package. It's a lot of fun. And so we plan to get that done within the next few months. So, transmission choices. This is kind of a review of some things you already saw. So this is tagged this slide that was already shown because it's a marketing slide. So we have two choices, right? We have the 7-speed manual. We talked about the active rev matching that continues to excel in this product. And then the 8-speed automatic. You can have the best of both worlds. This is the same slide that was shown before, but it was shown fairly quickly. So it's uniquely tuned for this product. Our watt upshifts are up to 0.08 of a second faster than the Porsche 911 DCT. That's pretty cool. Really fast upshifts. There's a lot of performance algorithms in the transmission that automatically can recognize the performance driving, and he already showed you the driver mode selection, but we can modify shift response. So the transmission is quite smart, or the controls are. And we already talked about the driver mode selector. And then we're estimating up to 5% fuel economy difference, right? We try to keep the engine in the sweet spot it needs to be in to deliver the right torque and power in the right gear and get to the best fuel economy. I feel like I should be moving around. This is so weird for me. So it's the same physical size, but using aluminum and magnesium construction, it's going to be over 8 pounds lighter than the 6-speed that's in the Corvette today. What's the axle ratio? It's got the 4.56 is the first gear. I don't have I should know it off the top of my head, shouldn't I? There's a 273 and a 241. Does that sound right? Hmm? 342. Let me get back to you. I don't have the total sum. I should. I'm kind of a poser for the transmission, so I apologize for that.
You have the ratios for the manual gearbox?
Do I have the ratios on the manual gearbox? I have them.
6-speed is 1:1, which is direct drive. On the 7-speed, 4th gear is 1:1.
It's in the last year's presentation. I can pull it up after. I think they have the ratios for the 7-speed in last year's presentation. I can get that.
So it's the same for 2015?
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. Actually, the Z06 gets a different, there's an MEL and an MAP with the Stingray, and there's another final drive for the Z06, so I can get that for you. Don't let me forget. You won't let me forget. Come see me after. So, some of the things that they've been saying in the media, right, about the 8-speed. So it's tuned for world-class shift response times, smaller steps between gear. Just keep the LT4 within the sweet spot of the engine, like it should be. So we get the most output for the supercharged engine. So there's 4 gear sets and 5 clutches in there, but very creative packaging to make it lighter weight and still get us 8 speeds. And it will be built in the Toledo, Ohio transmission facility. Did anyone go to the Detroit Auto Show or see the information from the Detroit Auto Show? So how Mark Royce put it, with paddle shift manual control, this is about the automatic, and lightning fast shifts for track use, plus the convenience of a true automatic for daily driver, and this is the same thing Tab said, right? You can have both. The automatic is truly an option without compromise. That's pretty cool. So, what I did so far, I did a brief review of the LT1, and I'm going to get some more data while he's presenting. Went over the 2014 LT1. I went over some new facts about the supercharged Gen 5 V8. Talked a little about the supercharger. If you have any questions, we can talk about that. Other features of the engine. Wanted to tell you about the hardware in it. Some brief information about the 8-speed transmission. And now, Rob's going to talk about the Performance Build Center. Thank you for your time.
Well, I'm a little embarrassed as a Corvette owner myself that this is the first time I've made it down to the birthday bash after owning 7 of them. But I've been busy up in Wixom, Michigan building engines for you guys for the last generation Corvette. So, along with the Performance Build Center, which I'm not sure how many of you, maybe a show of hands, if you know what the Build Center is or know about it, I'm sure you all do. So, with the move, of course, I moved down here with it. We're inside of the Bowling Green assembly plant now, right alongside the Corvettes. Kind of show a little silhouette here of the old building and moving into the Bowling Green assembly plant, of course. Bowling Green was there since 2003, and we first started building LC3 Northstar Cadillac supercharged engines for the STSV and XLRV, and that was kind of coinciding with the launch of the LS7 and the last CO6, of course. But it was brought about and brought on board because of the small but very passionate group of customers. This was Ed Kerner's remarks when we opened it up. Wants and demands vehicles with uncompromising levels of performance, and of course, Performance Build Center was put in place for these low volume applications just for these types of engines. So, of course, the Performance Build Center is all about hand-built. It's kind of similar to what you do in your garage, looking over every single piece before you put it on, ensuring every piece is perfect. And it's this hand craftsmanship that we put into every engine, and we have the ability to because we have the time to look it over since it is a low-volume build. So these are just some shots of some of our builders building engines, and you also see the picture of the nameplate here on the LS9 supercharger cover. That's actually the intercooler bricks on the LS9, but every engine we build actually gets one of these nameplates to signify that the builder has put his heart and soul into it and made sure that its quality is unsurpassed, or he wouldn't put his own name on it. So here I have a picture of actually the Performance Build Center as it sits inside the Corvette assembly plant. You can kind of see we have it sectioned off inside of the plant, and it's its own entity, so to speak. It's got its own air handling system, and we're just trying to keep everything separated and as clean as possible and as bright as possible, so our employees actually have the best possible conditions to look over all these parts to produce a quality product. And this is a view from the inside. I'll get into the products that you see them building right now there, but these are our builders that work right now inside of the Performance Build Center. And this is what our process looks like if you haven't seen it on YouTube or up in Wixom before. It's very manual. The builder steps through the process station by station. Same builder builds every part of the engine, takes the engine through the whole process, other than the test processes, and ensures that every stage of the process is completely his own and completely in his hands. Puts the quality into it right there and there at each station. So this is a little bit more about the facility itself as it is. Of course, we are dedicated to building handcrafted extreme high-performance engines for these low-volume specialty vehicles. It is now a 40,000 square foot area, a footprint inside of Bowling Green. In Wixom, it was about 100,000 square foot area, so doing the math, you can tell we had to really condense some stuff, especially in the material handling, material movement. Some of that stuff's held off-site. It's very flexible. That's the whole idea of the Performance Build Center, is that we're able to launch different engine models or variations, or very lean and agile and able to switch things around with minimal investment and little to no time down. When it was first put into production in Wixom. It was benchmarked against Mercedes-AMG, which has a similar hand-built process, and also Hendrix Motorsports, which we all know, of course, in the race program that he has. We have 3 assembly lines. They're fully capable of building anything we want to with minor tweaks here and there. We have 2 cold test machines, which actually the cold test machines cycle the engine without firing the engine, and we can tell what we need to know about that engine, whether it's going to be good when it gets to the assembly plant or not, just by cycling that engine with a large electric motor and spinning it around. We also have 1 hot balance machine, which we fire on natural gas for the LS7, and we'll be firing on regular fuel for the LT4 due to the fuel pump and direct injection. We have a low volume capacity. We say 15,000 per year. We've never built 15,000 engines per year. I think probably the most we've ever built is 10 to 11,000 or so, I would say. But that's only on 1 shift. We've never been a 2-shift or 3-shift operation. It's always been a 1-shift operation. So a little bit about our process that I haven't covered. Of course, each engine is completely hand assembled by 1 skilled builder. Towards the end of the process, that builder again attaches their nameplate onto the engine. We have strong emphasis placed on the quality of the product. Standardized work and layered audits are in place to ensure the builders are doing what they need to be doing at every step of the process. We have unique in tooling to ensure proper assembly, and of course it's really cool tooling, more expensive than what you probably have at your own house. Torque control and monitoring on every fastener that all gets uploaded to a central server and can be referenced later on if we need to. In-process torque verification, basically 4 stages of the process. The builder has to pass a quality gate to ensure that all the torques up to that point are correct and there. And every part, of course, is inspected before assembly. I talked a little bit about the in-house final testing. That's cold test and hot balance. Every manual transmission car will be hot balanced, LS7, LT4. And of course, every engine goes through cold test to ensure that it's good before it gets put into the car. So I have a video that hopefully will launch, and this kind of illustrates the hand-built process. Of course, this is the last generation. This is an LS9 that one of our builders had actually transferred down here with the program, is in the video. But I just wanted to show it to get a look and feel of what we do in the Performance Build Center. So hopefully this will launch. Without sound. Well, I'm able to view the video, but
Let's try and do that. And I need it up here, it's not working.
I need an audio-visual person up there.
Yeah, no. Suck it off. If you close that one, I think it'll work. So I think if you get out of that, it's to here. Yeah, that's not good either. Please stand by.
Well, we might have to forego the video.
Figure this out. I'm gonna figure this out. I think if I that's what to the function of if I can get out of that. Instead of extend. Let's go back to do it lost itself. I don't know what happened. It kicks it to extend.
So a little brief overview, like I said, with Mike building the engine. Mike's actually one of the builders that came down to Bowling Green with the program. So you got a little FaceTime. So what are we building over in the PBC right now? Well, we started production on the Z28, the LS7 engine for the Z28 that is. That's a 7-liter 427 cubic inch engine, of course, that was in the previous generation Z06. The engine was just too good to not leave a little bit of legs left in the banks, and of course the Z28 team welcomed it with the natural aspirated power of 505 horse and 481 foot-pounds of torque. I also don't know if you guys have seen the Nürburgring time for it, but it did do a pretty impressive 737 on the Nürburgring, and that was actually in rain towards the end of the track, so who knows what the real time is, but I'm sure somebody will find out eventually. Some of the LS7 component highlights, of course, it has forged titanium connecting rods, has fully CNC ported heads, and of course the dry sump oil system that was in the Z06. It's got the reservoir that's installed at Oshawa. It's got the oil pan, of course the dual gyro rotor oil pump, which is part of the dry sump system. Of course titanium intake and sodium filled exhaust valves also. And of course we will be building the LT4 engine in the PBC. So as Jennifer informed you before, not allowed to really know what the final power is, but we're saying 625 horse at least and 635 foot-pounds of torque. So with that, we will try to answer any questions that we can or are able to. The normal engine build, yeah, the question is how long does it take for us to build an engine? In Wixom we were working 10-hour days and the guys would build about 3 engines a day. In Bowling Green we're building about 2.5. As production is just, and that's in an 8-hour day, but as production is just ramping up, we're just really starting to get all our suppliers up to speed and really start to pump them out. So I expect it to be in 2.5 for 8 hours, 2.5 engines a day, 8 hours range. Go ahead, sir.
On your build your own engine option, do you go in and work right with the individual that typically builds the engine?
The build your own engine experience was in the previous generation Corvette. We've not announced anything yet for the present one. But the entire engine would be built by yourself as the customer, and whatever you would feel comfortable with doing, you would do. If you didn't feel comfortable with something and you wanted the builder to do it, which nobody was not comfortable with doing it with the builder by their side, but you're able to do it, and it's the actual engine that goes into your Corvette.
How many builders from Wixom?
We actually had 3 builders come down from Michigan. We got Chuck Wells, Mike Priest, and Barry Dennis.
How much stronger is both the engine blower and just your 6.2 versus like the old 6.0 and the old 6.2 C6? You know, like with the extra head bolts. I think I'm saying that right. The main caps, the head bolts on those two. In general, like how much stronger is the engine?
It's the same block.
It's a different block. It's I don't know how to quantify. It's a similar architecture block. Of course, it's 6-bolt mains now. That was probably Gen 3 since we didn't have 6-bolt mains. But I mean, obviously it's stronger now than it has been in the past, or we wouldn't be able to do these power levels like we are now.
And by doing that, is it just when you have the extra 100 horsepower, so it just gives you like more durability? I mean, that's the offshoot, really.
Yeah, of course, we have to meet our durability specs of 5 years, 100,000 miles. So it's got to be durable. I don't know what else say about that. It's going to last for the warranty and beyond.
How about the heads, the way the heads are, like, how can we beat that up too? And just, I don't know, just in layman's terms, what's going on there, like, that makes it better than the old engine before, like the 60s?
Flow. It's all about flow in and out of that combustion chamber. Of course, with a supercharger, that helps things out quite a bit. Don't need to port and polish it as much when you get a supercharger pushing everything through. I don't think we've released any of that. It's still going through all the development and validation.
You're asking peak torque, like where the peak torque and where the peak power is? Well, like with every gear, you want optimum torque, right? So we just get you into the gear faster so you have the best torque in every gear to accelerate faster. So, right, you know when you have less gears, it just sometimes hangs until you get to that next gear to get the right amount of torque. So we have more gears to go through. So quicker torque. Oh, what the torque, we haven't released it. That's what I was saying. Do you want to know the torque curve? I can't release it. I don't have the torque curve to release for you. Like how long we have peak torque and what I don't have that released yet. I guess it depends. It depends if you want the sweet spot for highest torque or most fuel efficiency. But that's where we use the AFM. As you're cruising down the road, you know, road low grade, we use a lot of AFM in a lot of the gears, all the way from third up to 8th gear. We can do AFM to make sure we have the right bands for fuel economy. Do those boards have liners? Yes. Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes, on the 8-speed automatic, what's the longest period of time you run the test fuel in consecutive minutes on a track at speed? What I'm looking for is, do we have overheating problems yet? Because, I mean, that's always, with an automatic, a big issue on the track.
That is the performance team, and I was hoping Tad or somebody from the performance team would be. We've been at tracks all year long, and we've been supporting different tracks. Like my team was at Road Atlanta and various places, but I can't give you a certain amount of minutes, right? How many laps on the track you're supposed to get to, what the target is for the car, I don't have that number. So I can take that. And 2.41 is the acceleration on the 8-speed automatic.
Is that for the base car, the Z51, or the Z06?
That's the Z06. 241.
Will it be different for the Z51 or the
Well, you're talking the LT1. So we have a 273 and a 241, like I said earlier, on the LT1, and the LT4 will also have a 241 acceleration. Just check.
Go ahead. The question was about the LS7 and the Z28 Camaro. It is the same architecture. It's except formed to fit into the Camaro, basically. It's still naturally aspirated, still high revving. And then you asked about the sodium-filled exhaust valves, and I'm not sure what the question or the. Well, I don't know that that happens when the engines are left stock, but yeah, it'll last 100,000 miles for sure. We wouldn't put the warranty on it. I don't know what don't have to worry about it. Go out and beat on it. Go ahead.
The LS7 and the LS9 have titanium connecting rods, but the LT4 does not. Why do you not use the tie rod on the LT4?
Well,
So we just tried to find the most effective way. We kind of went the NASCAR way, right? With usually we just do forged powder metal connecting rods with very little machining, and we really wanted to get in there and do extra machining and try to do it the powder metal way, and it's worked. So the forged powder metal like NASCAR is kind of what we went for.
The tie rods seem a little higher. They're lighter, sure.
They did get the mass down fairly close to what it would have been for a titanium rod too.
Titanium has, you know, you got to watch the metals you're near, you know, also.
Yeah, that's true too. There's other things with titanium too.
We picked what we thought was the best. I mean, for this thing.
Can you tell me where the regular Stingray engines are built?
They are built in Tonawanda, New York. The new one is 6,600.
You asked me about the 7-speed transmission, so I just want to see if I got it. Looking for the final drive. Yeah, I think that's the 266 and the 297. The first year. I'll look it up. It's not in here. Any more questions?
Just been reading some things about the coating on bearings, some of the things that have been happening with the newer bearings, with the design you got in the last couple years. Any changes coming along in that area, or things gotten a little better? We've just been reading that there have been some bearing issues.
The new bearings are, I know, a concentric design, so they're not exactly round, so to speak. So that helps with some of the debris and whatever that go through the engine and tear up a normal bearing.
Any improvement though in that area lately, or have you changed anything?
I don't think we have any different bearings in 2015 compared to 2014.
Just for clarity, are you going to build a Z51 engine here? Or is that going to
No, that'll still be built in Tonawanda, New York.
So it's just the Z06 and the Camaro LS7?
That's correct.
And how about, where are the V engines now for Cadillac?
The Cadillac V engines, that's built in another plant. It's not built in Tonawanda or
They were built in Wixom.
well, at one time the STSB and the XLRB was.
Make in Mexico.
I will get down all that information for you.
Will the new CO6 escape the gas filter packs?
What was the question?
Will the new CO6 escape the gas filter packs?
We haven't done the final fuel economy yet. That's obviously the target.
Is there any way with a Tech 2 you can go in and reprogram the 1 to 4 shift and move that forward obstacle?
Are you referring to skip shift?
Yeah.
You drive and practice.
No, there's no way you can disable that. Yeah, there's a certain spot you can get into it, and we actually are talking about that, and that's something that came back in the customer comments.
Because for the fuel economy of the car now,
Yeah,
they
so
don't get away with it. I mean, there's such a small volume of Corvette versus the cafe rate.
it doesn't. Well, it's not, but it does have fuel economy impact, and I have to certify both ways. Depending on how we pick the modes and what happens. So, yes. So I can tell you we had a conversation as recently as 2-3 days ago, hearing what the customers are saying and trying to make the best decision. But in 2015, there's no specific change, and there's no aftermarket for that. But that message came through.
could I ask a question on the, I think I saw on there where you're talking about increased duration and the damping of the engine itself. Now, does that, what are some of the positive things that come out of that? For example, does that have any correlation between the fact that you're meeting your shift patterns quicker and picking up on that torque because of the duration of the dam or not?
You're talking about the higher lift can, or the longer duration exhaust can, right? Is that what you're talking about? I'm sorry.
I think in your presentation where you said one of the things they did was increase the duration.
Duration, right.
And I'm just asking what other positive things are coming out of that?
Well, with the supercharged engine, you're stuffing all kinds of air and fuel into the intake, so you gotta get it out of there. So the longer duration.
That's the main purpose.
Yeah, gotta get it out.
Just back on the numbers, you guys are always good at forecasting. How many LT4s can you build with the number of staff you've got down here? I mean,
as many as you guys want to buy.
Okay, well, I mean.
It hasn't been enough, right? How we're doing that hasn't been enough.
Okay, well, I mean, I thought he mentioned they were going to be hand-built.
I'll say that the great part about our process is it's not like a normal assembly line where you're dependent on your machinery. All I got to do is add more people. Up to a point, because obviously I don't have that much room, but we'll put in more assembly lines if you'd like to.
Has anyone indicated what the max pressure is on the blown?
We haven't certified yet, so that's TBD, but I can give you a slide that you will like to see.
I saw ranges minus 15 to plus 15.
Oh, I'm sorry. What is your?
The pressure, max pressure on the supercharged engine. The boost.
I think, so I heard you say 15. Yeah, I heard you say 15, so it's like 9.
9?
Yeah, it's similar, actually fairly close to the LS.
Really? So again, the maximum boost that you're talking about is not yet, we haven't got certified, so it's
yeah, I was just wondering.
Yeah, so it's actually less, and they said they're going to ask you how much boost, but it's actually less, but it spins a lot faster and it's more efficient, right? The drive ratio is different too, so you can see the diameter is about 11 millimeters less, and the length is 11 millimeters less. I kind of alluded to that. Okay. Did that answer that? Is that hard to see? Yeah. The 7-speed is the 342 final drive. See, Phil Nichols, he couldn't help it. Yeah, that was a 7-speed, not the exact. I thought he was asking me. And he was, oh yeah, also asked me the 1-to-1 while I'm up here. Yeah, 4th gear still on 1. Yep. Anything else for us?
We've been a great group. Enjoy the rest of your day here at the museum.